Mm.
Cyrus, please. You like this, Cyrus?
Oh yeah, it's great.
All right.
Yeah. You go in a little bit more, ease the ball. That's it.
You want more this way, less profile? You get looking where Cyrus would be sitting, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, that's nice. That's very nice.
Okay. All right. And we'll just do a sound check, please. Go when I tell you. Go ahead, Miguel.
Hola.
What did you have for breakfast?
Hola.
What did you have for breakfast?
So far, 3 glasses of water.
Glass of water? That's good.
That's fine.
Is that a little?
Not yet.
I'll roll it for you.
That's going to be a quick call, just for 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
In regards to what we're doing.
3 glasses of water.
I like your angle there.
Yeah, you do, eh? You too.
It's a nice angle.
Nice. It's for improving my future participation in events like this, interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good that you're working on that.
I always love photography, video.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of social media. Yep, some of the things I love it.
So have you done photography?
No. I haven't taken no courses at all, but I am kind of self-taught in the video. I learned myself. I've been starting from scratch, using the old film, cameras. Now to the LCD cameras, the
That's it?
digital ones. Plus, I think I learned a lot from a friend of mine who worked for the Colony Hotel, who is a very aficionado to photography, very big fan of photography. He always blown me away with his cameras and the number of pixels and etc. The cost. Oh my God! I even buy for him my first digital camera. I think it was $60. No Canon, 2 megapixels.
2 megapixels.
Who want to take pictures of that number of megapixels? What is the current now level of megapixels? 32, 64? The sky is the limit, yeah?
Give me look at about here. I'll do it. Ready? Slate. Okay, so we're just gonna first of all, before we roll, just gonna do like 1 minute of silence because I need to capture that sound without us talking so that I can use it.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Rolling sound, room tone now. Okay, that's 40 seconds, room tone. We're set. Okay. Miguel, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Tell me about your friend.
Oh, my little friend right here. His name is Fido, which is spelled F-I-D-O.
Fido. Fido. And so what, tell me a little bit about Fido.
Well, Fido was a gift for my daughter Michelle. Michelle is the girl who's in this picture of my heart. I have my two daughters, Melissa, Michelle, and Michael, my son. And they are the ones who, well, somehow I gave in to the demands for a dog here about 7 years ago. So this is the gift for Michelle, my daughter.
So he is 7 years old?
Yep, 7 years old.
And I see you with him all the time.
It's true.
So tell me a little bit about his relationship to you.
Well, first of all, in life, you know, we go through ups and downs. One of those downs was a catastrophic event that happened to me. I was an employee at Toronto Zoo in 2008, and I was the victim of workplace violence, psychological workplace violence by a supervisor and employee of the Toronto Zoo. At the time, I used to be a shop steward for the local QP 1600, and I was very proactive in speaking out about violence in the workplace, not just physical, but also emotional abuse. And as a result of that, you know, I suffer PTSD. I developed PTSD as a result of that violence, psychological, that I was exposed to. In a short, my employer terminated my job because he made me look like I was the aggressor. And unfortunately, the union was not able to strongly support me as they should have. But I am one of those cases where I need to expose the truth about the unions and the lack of support for the members. My story is not a made-up story. You can Google my name, Miguel Avila, Toronto, on Google, and all the information is out there in relation to my story, how I came to be who I am now. Because I'm not the one who happened to be in 2008. I was more like a dedicated family man, a father, or a husband to my ex-wife. A really good, dedicated man to my kids. I love them still very much, although we are not together for now. But you know that link is him, my dog Fido. Fido is a result of a pinky finger promise I made to my daughter Michelle. I said because they were going to a family shelter, right? And in 2010, and because we were evicted. We lost our home, my wife and the kids they moved out of the house. I decided to stay in to fight my landlord because I knew they were abusing their rights. I was paying. It's a co-op, by the way. It's a housing provider. And I used to be a very dedicated co-op member, but some board members are human beings. They perhaps don't like you because the way you are, the way you want to be proactive instead of just let the waters steal the same. You know, I was very proactive when the co-op decided to charge us for hydro to every unit. When before we didn't pay for hydro for our units. But because they say the government is removing their subsidies because of the rollbacks on the mortgages for each unit, and they said we can't afford, so it's your problem now. You know, imagine hydro for a house is quite expensive in Toronto. I used to live in a townhouse. Me, my 3 kids, him, my dog Fido, and my former wife. And they didn't like it because I protested, you know, and slowly, gradually, this transfer of paying hire him to be, but some units likely they got not affected by the changes because they were senior citizens. And, oh, come on, you don't want to charge a senior citizen who has limited income. Anyhow, the board decided not to understand that I lost my employment with the Toronto Zoo, so you see now my income has increased. So therefore, you have to make an effort to put me on rent year to income calculation, which is 30% of my earning, my total earning, which is represents employment insurance at the time. They wouldn't do it. They will argue any case, unmanageable. They can't do it. They have no money. They're poor, etc., etc., etc. So I said, well, if that's the way you want it, let's go to court. But I didn't take them to the landlord and tenant board. I decided to take them to the Ontario Human Rights Court, based on the grounds of discrimination. And I won my case. I was able to succeed to stay on my premises for about a year, and I won the case. Unfortunately, my wife decided to leave because decided that she was complaining that it was a very unstable situation. What are the odds of you winning the case? So she took the case. And again, I repeat the story. The pinky promise to my daughter about Fido, right? Fido and I, we are inseparable because of the pinky promise, because the shelter staff would not allow dogs in the premises because of safety concerns, animal concerns, they may bite another child, etc., etc., etc. So they were afraid to lose Fido. I was in a very unstable emotional situation, the roller coaster I was going through in my personal life. So it was hard for me to take on the oath I made to my oldest kid, Michelle, who happened to celebrate her birthday last week. Happy birthday, Michelle. 14 years old. Right on. I love you, Michelle. So, my daughter Michelle is very grateful today that I keep my promise. And every time I had the opportunity to see my kids off the record, because her mother is kind of showing a little bit of cool head now. She's allowing me to see the kids, from time to time. So I'm very grateful to her because, I really miss my kids. I was watching the other day a movie, probably, Mrs. Doubtfire, with a partner with Mr. Williams. Oh my God. I've been trying even to become Mrs. Doubtfire, to be hired on my ex. One of my friends said, why don't you change your name to Mrs. Guadalupe? Home Services. Oh, Mrs. Guadalupe. That was a funny idea of my friend. And she said, wow, everybody noticed my change in my life in the last year and a half. Because, it was terrible for me to live without my kids emotionally. It dragged me away. But I was technically strong, why? Because I live in a very depressing area of Toronto, where all the poor are piling up in this building, namely 220 Oak Street. There are many people with mental illnesses and addictions, psychiatric survivors, people who really are down and out. And I feel compassion for them. I really feel compassion because I have an obligation, a moral obligation to change the things that happened, in my case, to me, when I was thrown under the bus by my union, by not supporting my mental illness, by not helping me out. Second, losing my job, my housing, to my co-op, which I won the case. And you can search, go to canley.ca, which is the website for legal cases, and search Miguel Avila versus Riverdale Co-op. You may not want to, you may end up cutting this off, but it's your prerogative not to say, well, keep third parties. But anyway, it's online. See, I ran for a councilor last year for this ward for 28, and in my life, I put in all the information. Everything that is in this information is some ideas to improve my ward and the city of Toronto. And I talk about what are my prerogatives. I can tell you here that I want to improve the income security for all the people. This is the time for our city leaders to raise the minimum wage. $15 an hour is not going to hurt McDonald's. They're not going to raise the prices, the hamburgers, to $4.80. That's what they claim, that if they raise the minimum wage for poor workers working in McDonald's or Walmart. Studies have shown that they may raise 68 cents, 25 cents in other countries like Denmark. A Denmark employee working at McDonald's makes $20.45 an hour, an hour, with benefits. So don't tell me it's not impossible to increase in income security in the city of Toronto. We need to raise the rates. Mr. Mike Harris, conservative leader, cut off 30% or 25% of the total amount for a family, for a single individual on Ontario Works and Ontario Disability. And those rates have been kept frozen, but they claim that a few cents here and there that have lifted up our income, but it's not enough compared to the reception, the levels of unemployment in the city, the level of inflation, the rising cost of living, the rising cost of renting out apartments. So those are my goals to see in the city of Toronto. But so I am very motivated to help any organization out there, my tenants, to rally together, in the future, so we can increase our salaries, our rates. Then I talk about food security. It's important that people have a decent meal on the tables. When was the last time I had steak on my table, or wine or glass with caviar? I haven't had it in years. But I'm not talking about luxury. I'm talking about decent, balanced meal according to Health Canada. What you need to have for proteins, for vegetables, for the amount of proteins, etc., minerals, etc., etc. I'm talking about community safety. It's important. I'm very strong advocate in relation to police brutality. I experienced police brutality back at home when I was a student leader. I came to this country as a refugee. So to me, it's a sad story in my life to come from a country where violence hurt me emotionally, and I had to leave my family, my home, many years ago, 27 now. This is going to be my 28th year in this country. So I try to forget that. I really try to forget my bad experience with the police. But unfortunately, when I became homeless in 2010, I experienced the experience of someone who is homeless on the street getting a ticket for being on the street, for asking for money so they can have money to eat. Is that fair? To be mistreated, to be treated like a criminal on the street, to be told names, to be threatened to provide information as to what country are you from. I mean, come on, our police is not federal government's agents to enforce the federal laws in the city of Toronto, and that's what is come to be known as carding policy, the issue of racial profiling. I was carded many times, probably 4 years now. 4 times, sorry, the last 4 years, 4 times I've been carded by the Toronto police. But lately they haven't, because my profile has become known to them via my participation on the Toronto Police Board. I've been attending the police board for the last 5 years, and I'm a permanent fixture, exception when I'm sick. But every time I sit there to let them know that Miguel Avila is keeping an eye on you guys, that you're not going to get away with it, because you know what, I use the social media, I posted things, I have a blog, I have a website, I share information about decisions made at the police board meetings, so that people can start to change the system. Because we need to change the system. It's not right for police officers to walk away free from making after a crime. Okay?
May I see that?
Sure.
I just want to look at it. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me what brought you to, I know you talked about what your condition was, but tell me how you actually ended up in this building. Why 220 Oak Street?
All right.
Or how?
How? All right.
How
Okay.
220 Oak Street?
As I mentioned to you, in 2010, I was homeless, and I was living in one of the shelters in downtown, the Good Shepherd on Queen Street. You're probably familiar with that shelter. So they kick us out every day at 7 o'clock in the morning after breakfast time. So between 7 and 5 p.m., you had to find a way to occupy yourself. So I was hanging around like anybody else in Morse Park. And I was approached by a native lady, First Nations lady, with another white guy, who were workers from the Fred Victor Center, and they were doing a survey and talking to people in the Morse Park area about their housing situation. And the worker took interest in my case because I was recently being evicted, and I won my case. Because the grounds for the eviction were illegal, and after I won my case, part of the settlement was that I had to leave the premises, but I didn't pay for 1 full year. So imagine, the board decided not to give me subsidy, but they were stubborn not to realize that this was going to cost them $28,000, because that's the amount of money they lost on rent for a year, because I was never liable to pay them, because I knew my rights were being infringed. But some members of the board are human beings. I'm talking about human beings. Okay, nothing was legal. So my case is available on County against. I mentioned to you why I came to be here. The lady, First Nation lady.
So hold just for 1 second.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to turn this camera on again. You're talking about this lady.
Yeah. So the Fred Victor worker offered me a solution. How would you like to live in on the north end of Etobicoke? Chilling out here. Okay. All right. I decided to go. So I ended up finding out that the reason was she asked me to go to Etobicoke North is because there was an opportunity to move into a unit of Toronto Green Housing, part of the so-called Streets to Home programs by the former mayor, David Miller. So I applied, and I decided to move to, I had no alternative but to move to Etobicoke North. I ended up living at Ward 1, and it was a complex owned by Toronto Housing, and mostly seniors, but over the years they fit in with homeless people, again, street homeless, without proper supports. You have people with different problems in the building, mental illnesses, addictions. There were nobody for the young adults supports. There are supports available for seniors though. There are other organizations helping out the senior population on that complex. But in my case, young adults, we didn't have access to like soup kitchen or a drop-in center. I mean, if you had to go someplace, you had to travel far in the country. Buses take 2 hours to get from that north end of the corner, Finch and Avenue Road, downtown 2 hours minimum, or to get to a food bank. Oh my God, you have to take buses there like half an hour. Well, luckily I rely on my bicycle, but it was hard. Me and Peter, right? So I'm glad for that. They allow us to move in with my dog. TCHC does not have any problem about animals, so in their policy so far, they're allowed to have 1 dog. Here's horrible stories of cat ladies who had 40 cats in the rooms. I don't know how they have this. Anyway, in that building, I was able to help them out with some of the problems they were facing with mechanical issues. For instance, the boiler broke down in the middle of winter. And it was sad that the people were afraid to go to the office to see the superintendent and talk about this issue because of retaliation in those days. You talk to management and you expose them of their shoddy business, you are going to be evicted, guaranteed. They're going to make your life miserable and they will evict you. In my case, I lost everything. You know, I lost a job, I lost my health, I lost my car, I lost everything in my family, my children. What am I going to lose now? My dog? That's all I have left. My bank account is empty. So I took her. I feel myself, you know, with that power, you know, that gives me the desire to change things. Because I don't like the status quo anymore. And I will, you know, go to march to the office of management and say, I demand that this issue should be, you know, dealt with right away. Because there are seniors living in the building, there are few families with children, and for God's sake, you have to do something about it. You cannot let these people freeze to death in their families. So listen to me. I was able to touch a very special person at the office, Mr. Abdul. I will not reveal his last name for afraid that he's going to.
It's okay. Yeah.
So Mr. Abdul, at the beginning he misunderstood me as a child disturber, but then later on, as he saw my articles on the press, the interviews, the photographs in the Toronto Star, in the Toronto Sun, in the CTV News, you know, in TCSE board meetings, and then he started to realize, I'm not talking to any, not just regular tenants. I'm talking to someone who really wants to see changes. And so yes, as a result, he ordered to have portable heaters in the rooms while, you know, these things were fixing up because the boiler needs to be changed. It was absolutely necessary to change it. So they had to make the change, the plumbing job, you know,
This was the place up at Humber.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you end up coming here?
All right. My journey took me here to 220 Oak Street from Hamburg. As a result, I was under the supervision of the Toronto Children's Aid Society. Sorry, the Toronto Catholic Children's Aid Society. CCAC, yeah. My worker knew that my life was being changing. You know, she sees that in me that I'm not just a person with mental illnesses, but I know how to behave myself. I know how to control my egos, and not let my egos control me. So, you know, Monday to Friday, I'm a very calm person, collective-minded. I'm sober most of the time. I'm a social drinker when there's a situation on the weekends. You have me sipping a few beers, which is normal to anybody, but I don't let the alcohol control me. And this is important to understand my life from the beginning when I met this lady at Moss Park in 2010, who helped me out. She's the reason why I became to be, I was on the streets, homeless, and nowhere to go. And I was seeing all the men, you know, having difficulties like me, but seeking refuge in alcohol, seeking refuge in hard drugs like crack and heroin, shooting alcohol. I mean, terrible things, you know, getting in trouble, fighting. But I have children. I have 3 kids. I have Michael, Melissa, and Melissa. I want to live for them. What am I going to do? You know, throughout this journey, I came to realize that I didn't have nobody in my corner. I didn't have someone, you know, like a people fighter, someone who's going to help the little guy. I couldn't find that kind of support. Every time I go to an office, their help will be limited because they're afraid losing their funding, their budget. Because some agencies, they say they help the poor and the needy, but when it comes to asking for money to the province, asking money to the city, they're not gonna say, well, what you do is unjust. They're gonna cut your funding, so they're very quiet. I mean, they can't. I mean, they have shackles in their hands. They can't say the right thing because they lose their jobs. They can lose the middle life class, So I decided to become that person. Comprende? I said to myself, that job is open. I have no chance to become that person. So I decided to become public as an outspoken person against police brutality. I created Toronto Cat Watch, for the record. I started right here in Regent Park. You asked me a question, how has the community benefit from my active participation in the community? Again, Google Miguel Avila, Toronto. Look at their Cat Watch. We monitor the police activities. I'm not saying that I'm against the police. I know they're good police officers. I just haven't seen one police officer who hasn't tell a bad police officer that what he's doing is wrong. I have met a few police officers who really are afraid to speak because they're afraid to lose their jobs. It's for anybody. So I have video recorded police brutality. I have exposed this on social media. I speak always all the time at the police board. I speak on this matter always at City Hall. I'm never afraid. I don't have this fear that my name is public. That anybody in 51 Division knows who is Miguel Avila. And Miguel Avila is not your bum, your stoner or your crackhead, Miguel Avila is someone who cares about the little guy, who have risked his own life. I'm putting myself at risk for being an outspoken person, but I sleep well. And even in this building, with so many problems, come on, I'm not unique, but it doesn't scare me, because you know what? I want to leave a legacy for these 3 children. I have a pension plan working out with the Toronto Zoo. I lost it, man. I lost all my money. So I have nothing to give them. When they reach out their minority of age, I don't have nothing to say to them, look, here's $20,000, use it to start up your business, right? The only thing I can leave my children is a positive living legacy. But my children can say proudly, say, my dad was not just a crazy person looking, dressed like a guerrilla or flashy. He will be out there, talking the real truth. They're speaking out the truth, to change the system. Because I don't want my daughter to tell me down the road, Daddy, is it true this is happening? Why you didn't do nothing about it? So I have this obligation to leave a legacy for my children. I want my name to be proud of when they go and meet other people. If they had the opportunity to be politicians or doctors, I want them to my children to know from other people my story and say, yes, I knew you, Daddy. Yeah, he was that crazy guy who lives at 220th Street. We love him because he was out there supporting us, giving us coverage on social media. He was coming with his crazy dog Fido. And he was poor all the time. He never accepted, gratitude, benefits, I didn't have a salary, but you know what? The only thing that makes me really happy is when I see a smile on somebody's faces. When I see positive changes start to happen. That's what it makes me feel like $1 million. It makes me forget all about the past, And it's self-healing, it's therapeutic, being an activist, helping other people makes, You're emotional and I feel good.
How long have you been here at 220 Oak Street? How many years?
Well, my TCAS worker said to me, Miguel, I am in the power to write a letter to the landlord to see the opportunity to transfer to closer to your children who happen to live in this part of the city, way over there. So she spoke to her supervisor, her director, and they approved to have a letter sent over to TCAC requesting under the category of health reasons to send Miguel to live closer to a facility, to a unit in downtown. So I consider myself very grateful. And it was not a privilege, that I received because, I had secrets to TCAC, I'm going to keep it close. No. I did it because they did it because they knew that was healing for me to be closer to my children.
And how many years have you been?
I'm officially living in this unit since 2011.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about the community here and how you are or not part of that community, and what are the changes you've seen over the last 4 years, if there are any?
Okay. Well, first of all, this building is not going to be my permanent fixed address. I'm planning to move to another location as soon as I get my children back with me to the family court system. So my presence will be known still in the social housing activist world. I will continue being a social activist. As a matter of fact, today I have been invited to a rally today outside Toronto Community Housing headquarters at 2:45 p.m. because we want to find out why the board is meeting in closer meetings again in Canada on a very important item, which is the so-called recommendations by the mayor's task force for Toronto Community Housing by Art Eglinton and his bunch of friends. They're meeting behind closed doors on the delivery of the recommendations, on the updates. 60 days was the window of opportunity that the tax mayor provided Toronto Community Housing to shape up the shape out. Because we're really looking at restructuring Toronto Community Housing from the bottom up. I would say that it's the other way around, from the top to the bottom. We got to move some people away, bringing more new people with fresh ideas, people who have been living in Toronto Community Housing, they have experience, like me, living on the streets. Who knows what it is not to have a steak for dinner, or caviar, or a glass of wine on my dinner table. I eat at the shelters. I'm still eating at the shelters. Why I like to go to the shelters? Because it keeps me in touch with the community. I get to hear what's going on with members of my community, not in 220, but overall in Regent Park. So my participation has been somehow positive because since 2008, according to a Freedom Information report done by the Globe and Mail, it reveals that since 2008 there have been five murders in this building alone. Yep, you can Google it. Globe and Mail, 220 Oak Street. So 5 murders since 2008 is scary. I think Wesley, 200 Wesley, is the second building with a much number of murders in the city of Toronto. So our building rates on the top one with the number of murders and crimes, all the crimes too. I mean, not just necessarily murders. The list goes on. One time I had the opportunity to participate at a safety and community meeting provided by Toronto Police Services 51 Division, Toronto Community Safety Unit, the local management, and they brought in survey results, a study done over the last few years on the number of violence at this particular building. So that shows that the problems in this building are very unique. And I want to give thanks to the work done at the board for inviting organizations as HOTA to come into this building and provide the needed services that my tenants needed. Support services are really important, not just in this building alone. It should be available throughout the city. I happened to be attending yesterday the Affordable Housing Committee, and we were talking about the poverty reduction strategy by my local councilor, Paul McConnell, who is the chairman of this task force on housing issues. So many of the things that were spoken yesterday is into enhancing the support services for tenants living in Toronto housing and throughout in Toronto as well, where you find low-income people living. As probably you're aware, 1 in 5 Canadians suffer mental illnesses. So that's scary. I guess in this building the rate will be the 90 to 1. Sorry.
So since CODA's been here in December, the program started, the pilot project.
Yes, I was here for the inauguration.
Right. I remember you were there. Tell me if you've actually seen any changes, positive or negative, in that, now we're at what? We're in August, so we've got 8, 9, 10 months.
Right.
Or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So in 9 months, have you noticed anything?
Well, indirectly, I see more civic participation, civic engagement by tenants of the building.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Shawty's here. We're here. We would never have been here otherwise.
Yeah, more interest from the media. I saw several days ago journalists from several media communications coming here to take a story on New York, because it seems to be that this building can become a beacon of hope for so many communities, right? I have that feeling that this building is in the process of rejuvenation, renewal, and they can spring up into beautiful things, but it requires funding. And as you're aware, COTA's participation is as an experimental basis. It's 1 year term, and I hope by contributing with sharing my story to help them in the long run to improve, stay longer, because sometimes what is written in the paper is not the same down a year later. Our leaders, the mayor or city council, can cut here, cut there because they screw up, and they have to find ways to cut, and they always go to the poor to cut more and more and more, which is not the way to go. They should be cutting off the salaries of themselves, for instance. Why don't you cut your salary? Why don't you leave voluntary works for 1 day, for 1 month? And there have been experiences that some councillors have volunteered to live on $620 a month.
Which is what you get.
The maximum you get on voluntary works as an individual. And it was shocking. It was something that really touched them inside here, to live under our shoes and the same conditions. Although the experiment didn't include to live in Toronto community housing building for 1 night. I think they will never come back.
It's the quickest thing right there.
So finally, we're almost at the end. I just wanted to ask you one more couple of things.
Yeah.
So,
two things.
Yeah.
You said something about back home, right? Where's back home for you?
I'm originally born and raised in Lima, Peru, a very cosmopolitan city. That is where I lived before, but home is now Canada because of my kids. 28 years now,
And
almost.
tell me about a smell or a scent of something like food or something that takes you back to your childhood, what would that be?
Oh, the smell of frying fish. Frying fish is something that really brings me good memories of home. And I smell sometimes in my building. Which all makes me wonder why some people open up the doors when they fry fish. And then they trigger the monoxide, carbon monoxide, the smoke detectors in the hallways. And as a result, we have fire bells going all through the building. And that's part of the education that the fire department is going to take with Toronto Community House, because it costs $800 in the taxes to bring 3 or 2 fire trucks for a false alarm. So it's not the smart idea to continuously paying that expense to the city. It should make you think, you are an organization of the City of Toronto paying to another organization of the City of Toronto. It doesn't make sense. But they have to justify the high salaries of the fire department. I think they start at $35 an hour. So they make a good money compared to $9,000 a year I have in my entire disability plan. Along the way, I think my residents will learn that opening up their doors to fry fish, it will be a no-no, because they will save us money. The money can be spent better to improving our gardens, our building, So yeah, that's something that will happen, and we'll see if a frying fish will smell it in the comfort of a restaurant.
Who cooked the fish for you? Tell me about take me back to that moment. Who's cooking the fish? What you're doing? What kind of fish is it?
That would be my grandmother. My grandmother. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, living in the countryside. My grandmother was the best cook in the world. Whatever you are, grandma, I know she was the best. And I will be, just being a kid, living in a farm with my grandma, my grandfather, and my parents would come pick me up at the end of the weekend. I would stay with my grandma for a week or 2. So I like the life in the countryside, brings me child memories, swimming in the river, playing in the countryside. Yeah, it was a very beautiful experience.
And finally, tell me, what floor are you on in this building? And what do you face what do you see from your porch?
I'm living in the 10th floor, and I'm facing the southeast side of the building, and I can see clearly the Don River. I see people. Yesterday I saw some people going in the kayaks up the river stream, and it was wonderful. The other day I saw a carp swimming in the river. So, oh my God, wow. We're doing something different now. We're trying to bring life to a dead river.
And tell me your full name, and maybe in a sentence, describe who you are.
All right. So my full name is Miguel, Miguel. Last name is Avila, Avila. And I am currently unemployed. I have disabilities, 2 types of disabilities, 1 mental and 2 physicals. I'm currently spending my time changing the city of Toronto. I'm a social justice activist, living in Toronto Community Housing. I'm a big animal activist too. This first time I mentioned was working to move the elephants from Toronto Zoo to California. One of them died a few months ago due to age. We know that it wasn't the name of the sanctuary. We know that. Started to know that. So we had to move some animals out of the zoo, and that was very big to me. That was a slap in the face of the Toronto Zoo. And they told me they was not gonna come back I came back. I came back. They told me, see, they saw me going to the door, you know, defeated, you know, oh, I lost my job, they didn't fuck me up, they betrayed me. But I came back, and I didn't come back alone. I came back with so many friends. And I even tried to change the way the governance of the Toronto Zoo. Over the years I changed, but I wanted to see more participation, more engagement of citizens at the board level, so they will not make stupid mistakes like bringing the panda for 10 years with the hope that if they breed a panda, they will come out with money without a loss. They will not go into the red, sorry, that's what I meant to say. They will have some surplus available for the programs and activities at the zoo. But if they don't breed a panda, they're going to be on the red. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's the taxpayer who is hooked with the government of China for $2 million a year for those pandas, and not just the cost for the leasing. You have to take into account the veterinary bills. They have accommodation for some engineers, scientists from China living in Toronto to oversee the pandas when they're staying in Toronto. Who's paying for that? You have to think about the bamboo, fresh, flown every day, you know, from, I think it's coming right now from Georgia, I mean from the state of Alabama. They were talking about bringing from other parts of the world, but you know, that costs money. We don't grow bamboo in this country. It's a frozen environment for bamboo.
Once again, just tell me your name this time, don't spell it, just say I'm Miguel Avila.
Yeah.
And I'm a tenant here at 220 Oak Street. Okay?
Sure.
And just look at the camera for me, okay?
Yeah.
Very good. And action.
Good morning, buenos días. My name is Miguel Avila, and I'm a tenant of Toronto Movieinterview.
Do it one more time and tell me about 220 Oak Street, okay? Because I need to identify the building. Okay. And action.
Good morning, buenos días. My name is Miguel Avila. I live at 220 Oak Street. Right on.
Keep, that's it. Hold. And can you zoom in? Can you show me your kids? Yeah, you zoom in. Okay, so point to them and tell me who they are.
This is Michael. How you feel? Sit down, don't be jealous. This is Michael, my son, right here, and with me. On the right side, in the heart. On the other side is Michelle and Elisa. Michelle is the oldest one. She's 14 years old. And the other Michelle and Elisa, she is 11 in February. Elisa. And Michael also celebrated his birthday the week before too. So he is now 9 years old.
Well, thank you so much.
Hey, no
That
problem.
was good.
No problem.
And thanks for being honest and opening up.
Yes.
You were wonderful.
Yes, movie.
Yeah, that's great. And you just I just hit play and you just went.
Do you want to, Cyrus, do you want to do any B-roll or?
Yeah, I do. I'm just trying to, because I could get him another time.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to figure out.